My name is Shannon Joy, and I'm from upstate New York. I'm the host of a radio program called Talking Back with Shannon Joy. And this summer, I hosted a series called Summer School on Common Core. So welcome, everyone, to the Real Facts on Common Core. This should be an excellent day where you can all learn a little bit more about Common Core and how it's going to affect you and your children. So I want to say thank you first. I want to start out, we have a few people, some elected officials that have graciously taken time out from their busy days. We have Dr. Joe Rella and his wife Jackie. I know they were in here a minute ago. Okay, well. We have Deborah LaGrappa for Assemblyman Otis. Thank you. We have Assemblyman Al Graff and Doug Smith, who have been with us. And we have Alex Rothmeyer for Assemblyman David Buchwald. So I want to tell you a little bit about who I am and why I'm involved, why I drove out from Rochester, New York to be with you today. I host this radio program. I'm married to my husband, Jeff. He's a school psychologist at a school district in my town. I have 3 absolutely adorable children. Jack is 7, Mimi is 5, and my little baby, Teddy, is 1 year and 7 months. So my children attend public school. So I'm in the boat with all of you. So if you're wondering why I'm here, I'm not paid to be here. I'm not part of any organization. I'm not part of any group. There's no politician involved with me. I'm here because I'm fighting for my children's education. And what we have seen in the past year is a Common Core that we've all kind of heard about. We don't really understand necessarily what it is. But seemingly overnight, it has taken over our schools. And I don't know if any of you have had this experience, but when it came about, at first I was kind of like, well, what is this? My first step was to go to talk to my children's teachers. And unfortunately, their teachers couldn't really give me any answers. So I was like, oh, well, okay. So my next step was to talk to the assistant principal and the principal of the school. And at that point, the principals couldn't really give me any answers. And so I eventually tried to go to the school board, and again, I was unable to get the real answers and the real facts about what Common Core really is. Where did it come from? How does it affect my family? And what I began to understand as I went through that process was that somewhere along the way, parents, teachers, and school boards have lost every bit of power that we ever had when it comes to the education of our children. We can ask all kinds of questions, but there's nothing that we can do to change anything in our schools because that power has been taken from us. So the reason that we're here today is to hopefully educate you all, give you a little bit more information, and arm you with the facts so that when you go to talk to your teachers and principals and potentially school boards, you're going to know the things that you need to know regarding Common Core. So what can you expect today? We have an amazing panel of people who are just like myself. We have moms, we have researchers, we have people who have been studying Common Core, and they've been traveling the state and the country doing things just like this today. So you guys are going to hear a lot of information, but at the end of the day, we're going to have a question and answer segment as well. So we're going to bring the panelists back up, and you guys will be able to ask any questions that you need. So, thank you. So we are going to start off with a video, and this was a video that was a poem actually that was created by Mark Ferrara, one of our tireless Common Core activists. Warrior. And then after that I'm going to introduce Yvonne Gasperino. Yvonne, just so that you all know, when I said before that this program is not funded or sponsored by anyone, this is Yvonne and her husband have worked tirelessly to put this together. They have used money out of their own pocket so that we could all be here today. So they just we'll watch this video, and then I'm going to turn this over to Yvonne. Thank you.
I am the child. All the world waits for my coming. All the earth watches in interest to see what I shall become. Civilization hangs in the balance. For what I am, the world of tomorrow will be. I am the child. I have come into your world about which I know nothing. I am curious. I am interested. You hold in your hand my destiny. You determine my success or failure. Will you let me soar to the heights of greatness, or let me wallow into the mire of mediocrity? Show me, I pray you, all the pathways to happiness. Protect me, I beg you, that I may be a blessing to this world. I am the child.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. That video is very special. That was my daughter. I'm excited for that. I'm sorry, we made her. So I'm going to give a basic overview of what Common Core State Standards is. So, what is Common Core State Standards? Common Core State Standards is a top-down, national mandated education program 45 states had to adopt through Race to the Top competitive grants program. States who did not receive money, like our neighbors up north in Connecticut, still needed to sign on. Race to the Top was created in 2009 through the stimulus bill, otherwise known as the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act. $4.35 billion was benchmark allocated towards Race to the Top. States had to commit to the standards before they were even written. They were not even written yet. Race to the Top was created in the spring of 2009, with the Phase 1 application starting in November 2009. 2 months later, they were due. During this time, the legislators, as we know, are not in office. They're not in session from November, December, and part of January. So they had to sign on, sight unseen, to these standards, deciding without their legislators what to do. So they essentially signed away your child's educational freedom. There are two requirements to the Race to the Top. Two requirements are that you needed to sign on to standards, and the state needed to develop a SLDS, a statewide longitudinal database system. So those were the two requirements. Common Core State Standards is a one-size-fits-all education. It makes no distinction between the individual child. All children learn the same concepts at the same time. They do not take the child's individuality into account whatsoever. Nothing. Not even language differences. So you have high achievers, you have special educational others. I just want to make a point that they're all put collective together. Children are like flowers. They're all different shapes, sizes, they learn at different stages. CoreStandards.org, I don't know if IEP, if everyone's familiar with IEP, we know sometimes it can be 5 pages to 20 pages, depending upon the child's needs. CoreStandards.org, a page and a half for special needs children. That's it. The assessments that you've heard so much about, 7% of our children supposedly failed, and now they're not college and career ready. I'll give you a little bit of background. The two consortiums, PARC and SBAC, they were given $360 million from the $4.35 billion benchmark to create Common Core State Standards assessments. The assessments are cloaked in secrecy. The teachers do not see them until they physically open up the packets. So, who wrote these standards? The standards were created by the National Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officers. They formed Common Core State Standards Initiative. This encompasses only math and ELE, English Language Arts. Achieve Inc. wrote the standards. It's a not-for-profit education company that develops educational programs. How did they get the money? Bill and Melinda Gates gave them $100 million to write Common Core state standards. You've been hearing in the news lately that it's state-driven. It is not state-driven. National Governors Association sounds like an official agency of the government. It is not. It's merely a membership. Do you realize that not every governor in our country is a member because you have to pay a membership fee? So that means not all 50 governors signed on to Common Core state standards like they're touting. The Council of Chief State School Officers is another not-for-profit membership. You're also hearing that the Common Core state standards is copyrighted, and that is true. It is copyrighted. The internationally benchmark that you hear so much about, that they're talking about, it was never internationally benchmarked. They had no proof whatsoever to even say that they were internationally benchmarked. In fact, CoreStandards.org was forced to take it off their website because they had no proof. Now it's relevant to the world. So I'm going to go through a quick timeline. How did we get here? How did the federal government get involved? The federal government got involved initially in 2001 with the No Child Left Behind Act, when there was the first time they mandated testing from a federal level. Then you have in 2008 Common Core State Standards Initiative, the project began. Then you have the stimulus bill, the American Recovery Reinvestment Act, where the United States Department of Education benchmarked $4.35 billion to create the Race to the Top competitive grant program. Phase 1 starts November 2009. And in June, Common Core State Standards is finally released. We're going to go through the Race to the Top timeline a little bit. So deadline for the Phase 1 Race to the Top is January 19th. Now remember, the standards were not written yet. This is really, really critical. The first draft was only released in March 2010. Phase 2 deadline, June 1st, still no standards. June 2nd, the standards are finally released. Without any empirical evidence, no proof, no detailed cost analysis on how much this is going to cost. Only Pioneer Institute did a cost analysis, along with Henry W. Burke. He expanded upon the information that Pioneer Institute gave. For each state, the estimated cost in New York is $1.1 billion. So, June 20th, the majority of the states sign on. New York State wins Phase 2 and is awarded $700 million on September 24th, 2010. To this day, no cost analysis done. 45 states have adopted by November 2011 to an untested, unproven, and unfunded national education mandate with an unknown price tag at the expense of our children. Race to the Top in Common Core Standards is nothing but education without representation. And with that, I would like to hand it off